What's up, San Antonio Expressers? My name is Samara. I am your host today. I am one of the interns with Teen Teams, and today I have with me two exceptional young ladies, the co-founders of Black Book Sex Ed. If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
My name is Cydney Mumford. I'm 20 years old. I'm the co-founder of Black Book Sex Ed. I'm currently at CHCP College, and I'm studying to go into the medical field. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Limya Harvey. I'm also 20 years old. I study sociology at the University of Texas, San Antonio. I'm also minoring in African American Studies and community health.
All right. So the name Black Book Sex Ed, what is that? Like, give us a little bit about what that is. Where did it come from?
Yeah, Cydney, you can.
Well, when we started, obviously we're both Black women, Black femme-presenting people. So we kind of just wanted to do a play on words with the Green Book. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is.
Yes, I am. But tell the audience.
Yeah, the Green Book is basically, it was a Green Book for Black travelers, and it would be a guide of where you could go, the things that you could participate in throughout the country. And we wanted to use that name, I think, but we didn't want to get like sued or anything. So we were like, let's be smart and, try to use our identity. And of course, as you see our logo, it's a beautiful Black lady. So yeah, we try to be smart about it.
And with y'all's nonprofit, what do y'all exactly do?
Yeah. So Black Book Sex Ed is a grassroots organization. We are majority self-funded, and essentially we use our resources to provide emergency contraception kits, menstrual product kits. We deliver those throughout the city. We do public events with the city, and pretty much just use social media as a way to further expand sex education and sexual health resources.
So if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about how you guys got into it, where did this idea come from? Like, how did this all come to be?
When Limya and I were both seniors in high school, at Wagner High School to be specific, we were a part of a youth advocacy group with Healthy Futures of Texas. And while we were in that group, we were among the only two Black people in that group. So there were a lot of conversations that we felt were super important to have, especially as it relates to like sexual health and health disparities in San Antonio, or just in general. So there were a lot of conversations that we were having that we needed to, push to the forefront. So when we were freshmen in college, we kind of decided, it was a random Sunday night too, we kind of decided like, oh, we should put together kits and, give them away at a local market. Shout out Beauty House. And we've kind of been doing our thing since then. It took us like a week to figure out what we were going to do, what our name was, and then execute that following Friday. Yeah, that following Friday. And yeah, we've been doing our thing since.
Yeah. Nice. To piggyback, I ended up working for Healthy Futures after that. So I kind of had that idea that I was like, man, I'm working for a nonprofit. I'm going to be able to do all these things for the community. And then I realized what restrictions nonprofits have. That kind of was like, ooh, I can't do what I want to do. Right. I want to talk about racism. I want to talk about the unhoused community and how that is affected by sexual health and all those different things. And unfortunately, just weren't able to talk about that. So in addition to that, and us just kind of doing things with the nonprofit at the time, it was like, I want to do more. So that's also where that conversation came from, because I was like, man, I want to do these kits for my job, but I can't. And so it was like, I was thinking about that. We should do that.
Like, I have plan B I'm not using.
Yeah.
I don't really want it anymore, so let's go ahead and give it out.
We used resources from our own cabinets, raided our bathroom cabinets for pads, tampons, EC, condoms, went to Dollar Tree and bought all their pregnancy tests, and then went to that market 5 days later and showed up and did what we could with what we had.
Okay. So it's giving me like building block stories. Yes. So being that when you were first working with the nonprofit, there were many restrictions, what is y'all's mission now? Like, what do you aside from the kids, what is something that you guys want to impact the people?
I think I speak for both of us when I say that we want Black and brown people in San Antonio, because obviously this is our target community, like the east sides, the lower income areas of San Antonio, to be able to reach out to people that they need, or reach out to people when they need something. Like, I would hate for a young girl to have to choose between, continuing to go to school and having a baby because she maybe didn't have that $50 to get a plan B, or she didn't know where to get condoms, or she just generally didn't have any information before engaging in sexual activities, So it's really just about increasing access, increasing comfortability in the communities we choose to serve.
Breaking that stigma I think with us, especially now having reusable menstrual products, topics like periods are not very common within Black communities, and they wait until it happens to start talking about it. So it's very heartwarming to see families be like, what is this? And we tell them what it is, and now they're calling their friend to come over, come get it. And everybody's kind of circling around the table to get something that otherwise they wouldn't be able to afford, or they kind of just was really taboo in their household that they wouldn't talk about it. Especially with it being free was like a major thing, because we always tell them, like, the worst comes to worst, you didn't have to pay for it.
Right.
It's okay. It's not as much as like I had to decide between $30 for a Diva cup or $30 for food.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we're focused on.
And then also, because there's a lot of things, because we're not rich ourselves, so there's a lot of things we would not have been able to use if it wasn't for this. Like, anytime we're tabling and someone's like, oh, like, how do you use this Diva cup, or how do you use this menstrual cup, or the period underwear? I'm like, girl, I love the period underwear. So like, it's kind of, I think you said heartwarming. It's just nice to be able to share that experience and be like, yeah, like, you don't have to pay $30, $50 for some underwear that you know is going to be better for you during your menstrual period. So.
And I know you guys mentioned earlier that in the beginning, like, everything was self-funded and you guys were doing your own marketing, your own packaging, things like that. So what was the moment that it was just like, okay, this is hard, but it's worth it? Like, was there a specific moment in y'all's journey, or has it just come with the experience?
Boy, we was broke. we were so broke. Like, when we first started, Limya was the only person. She was the only one that had a car, and I don't know. Like, it's really gratifying to think about, because we were spending our own money on like condoms. We were scrounging the internet for hours trying to find lube that wasn't like flavored and just generally crazy to use. Like, we put in a lot of work. We put in a lot of hours at the beginning, and obviously we still do. But
it was crazy research to have to do to find the free resources that everyone else was using. And it just was like, we need to find something that is going to alleviate this, because the gas alone was already bad. But yeah, you're adding in gas plus everything else. Fortunately, the Plan B we knew about, but everything else, it was like, even now we still pay for the pregnancy test, and the pregnancy tests are what, like $30 for 100?
Yeah.
And we distribute how many kits every couple months? Like, that's not enough still. So it definitely was just like, this is becoming super expensive. We need to find something. And we were fortunate enough to find a training for EC vending machines with EC for EC, which is through the American Society for Emergency Contraception. And they were just doing a training about where you could find everything for free for that particular project. But then we were like, basically the same thing. So let's reach out, and Sid was doing a lot of the applications that we had to apply for, some of which we got turned down, some of which we were able to get a lot more than we thought. Like, we thought, 400 units of Plan B was a lot. Now we're getting like 1,000, 1,600.
I remember when we got approved for like 600, I did like this super offbeat scream in the car. And I was just like, girl, why did you do that? But yeah, I don't know. It's been hard, but it's like, talking about it now, it's like, dang, like, I did that for real. Right, we did that.
And what about some of the people that you guys have come across? Like, what are some of those stories of, dang, we low-key saved them? Like, what are some of those stories?
The biggest one for us was like one of the first things we were told. We went to, I don't know if they're still in business, but the Trend Effect.
I know what you're talking about.
And we got told like a couple months after we did our first event there, she was like, yeah, I found out that I was, how many months pregnant? 5?
Several months.
Yeah, like several months pregnant, because she just randomly was like, I'll take this kit home. I would just randomly decide to take this pregnancy test, because why not? And literally found out that she was 5 months pregnant.
I wonder,
but she wasn't showing.
Yeah.
And she's like, I wouldn't have known, because I wouldn't have had the idea to take a pregnancy test, because I had it in front of me. So that was the first part where we were like, oh my God, you have 6 kids and you just found out that you're pregnant with your 7th. But then after that, it kind of just was like, people kind of in the moment that slowly over time of doing 4 markets a month, you start realizing that I've seen you before and I keep seeing you. what's going on? It's like, I just like they'll wait for us to post and they'll find us. Like they'll be like, oh, I knew you were going to be here. So I planned to come here so that I could meet y'all. And I think that's the craziest thing is because I start recognizing people and we start remembering names and we're like, how are you doing?
I saw you 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. How are you doing now? How was that? How was that kit? Or we have just some people who they started getting enough kits from us that they started reaching out to their friends and being like, you need to go to them. Right. Because at that point we were like, all right, that person, because we do the deliveries ourselves, that person roundabout lives over here. So it's going to take us about this long to get to them. And just realizing that like we have those connections with them, that they feel comfortable reaching out to us in times of need, definitely is just big enough because whether they tell us like the deepest part of their stories or they're just generally being like, you saved me. Like literally basically at the door of someone on her birthday was like, thank you for being here. I'm going to take this. I need it right now. And I was like, okay, happy birthday. Have a good day.
Right.
So they're definitely very vocal, whether it's on a large scale or not. They just always express their gratitude. And we definitely appreciate hearing back from everybody all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine you guys are with it just being accessible and free and convenient. I had interviewed someone that was a recipient of one of y'all's kits, and she was like, the fact that I can put it in my purse and put one in my car, like, I'll tell you later. She was just telling me how convenient it is, and it just made me happy that, like, because a lot of it isn't convenient, or like for example, like even the schools, like they have like the cardboard tampons, and it's just like
those are everywhere.
What are we really doing? So, just for clarity for the audience, what comes in each kit?
Yeah. And the EC kits, they come with one Plan B or whatever emergency contraception we are given, about 8 condoms of variety, 1 lube, 2 pregnancy tests, and then a little cup to use the pregnancy test. And then we often try to have either how to use condom cards or EC quick facts. We try to have one of each, but obviously printing is also expensive. And then in the menstrual kits.
Yeah, in the menstrual kits, we have pads, liners. These are the ones that are kind of like fat. They have pads, liners, tampons, hand sanitizer, ibuprofen, and wipes as well. And then obviously, as we mentioned before, we also give away reusable menstrual products. So that includes like Diva cups, regular menstrual cups, period underwear, which again I love. Huge advocate for them. And
yeah, those are the main things. And then we've recently been giving out the 2 units of Julie, sometimes individually, because a lot of our audience is really wanting the emergency contraception aspect of it. So if we can give them 2, and that 2 when we deliver, I think we try to pack at least 3. That way it's not just, this is just an emergency. This is an emergency plus 2 more times before you have to reach out again. Yeah. That way it doesn't always lead to, I'm in the last 24 hours of my recommended 72-hour period. I need this ASAP. And of course, that doesn't always work.
Be available, so.
Yeah. So we try to account for the future just in case.
You guys had mentioned previously that y'all went to Wagner. So were there any instances like at school that kind of also sparked that, okay, like it was like a flashback, okay, this did happen in high school. Maybe we should keep the ball rolling as far as the kids. Because I know as far as being in the Judson District, sometimes you see a lot of teen pregnancy or she can't get this pad and now she's asking the teachers because of the economic situation. So can you guys speak to that a little bit?
Well, first and foremost, teen pregnancies at our school were such like a prominent thing to happen, such a common occurrence that we had a whole daycare. And before COVID happened, young moms would just like come, bring their kids, and they'll be taken care of for the rest of the day. And then after COVID, of course, that got shut down, which is super unfortunate. Yeah. So it kind of just made it more clear, like this is definitely something that is an issue within our community, because I couldn't imagine how many of those young girls maybe wouldn't have made the choice to continue on with their pregnancy if they had the option to just bring somebody up like us and get a plan B and, do with that what they needed to.
Yeah. And then the aspect of just like, one, for me, I am the daughter of a teen parent, so my mother wasn't able to finish high school. So just for me, that was like always in the back of my head of like, okay, we need to make sure that we're on it. I got on Next One Up when I was like 15. I was like, we're not having any of these. We need to make sure we're good. But obviously, like, there was also the idea of like, I'm in GRTC and I have like my unarmed girls just touching my arm and they'd be like, what is that? I'm like explaining to them what birth control is and like how it works and the different options as a 16-year-old, and they're just being like, wow. And then again, just the aspect of like, if someone is experiencing period poverty and they don't have menstrual products at home and they have to ask, one, for very poor quality pads, but two, every single day, because they're not going to give you more than one. They're going to give you the one and be like, okay, you're good for today. Now tomorrow you're coming back to the nurse's office. And I think with that, we had a lot of teachers, especially for me, it was our English teacher. They just took the liberty to have things like that in their room, and just constantly was like, oh, you need this, you need deodorant, you need that. Like they had everything. And I think that's the main thing that kind of was like, whether it be just delivering it or trying to find a way somehow in the future to partner with high schools and other schools to have, especially the menstrual product kits in there for them to be able to have something for the week. You keep it in your bag, same way that you said, you keep it in your little purse, same way. You have pads, tampons, everything to make sure that you're good while you're out. And then whatever happens at home, you kind of work towards that as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's something we've definitely tried to do. I remember like the year that we first started, we were going to our high school. I think we definitely went to Judson because that's where we saw you. We went to Roosevelt and we tried to have as many conversations with people as we could. And it's definitely a difficult space to navigate. But sometime soon we're going to try again because, again, it's definitely something that we both feel is necessary in schools.
When I was on y'all's Instagram, I did see the way that you guys tried to have an emphasis on sex education and having those conversations. So can you guys kind of speak to that? Because I feel like a lot of times people are just talking about, well, if you don't, what is the term? If you can't feed them, don't breed them. Like they don't really talk about, well, a lot of times these girls are getting into sex and things like that because they're not having those conversations at home. We're not having these uncomfortable conversations. Like, yes, we know sex leads to pregnancy, but we're not talking about like maybe the girls who are emotionally detached to their boyfriends and now they're thinking that this is something that they need to do. So can we just talk about the importance of having those conversations at home and how it can, like a cause and effect type thing?
Yeah. I think it starts with just generally realizing that there are two sides to this coin and it's not just one particular person or another that is responsible for what happens. The same way that we expect for women and young girls to be knowledgeable of how they can get pregnant, the same way we want to have young boys be knowledgeable of how to use a condom, why they need to use a condom. We're really big on like, everyone should have condoms available just in case. And I've been told like, well, why should I bring the condom? I'm not the one who can, create the baby through that. And it's like, people could forget, things could rip, it could be too small. There are all these different factors that some people don't think of in the moment because they expect something from the situation. And I think that's the main thing is understanding that everyone has a responsibility in this entire situation, whether it be from the role of genuinely going straight into just the topic of sex or just consent at a very young age, teaching consent that this is my body. My body is my body. It is not for you to touch. And it's definitely a major conversation within this realm that is not something that you should wait until they are, hitting puberty in their adolescence to explain to them that their body is their body. So we definitely just kind of focus on that and just being like, remind them, that everything is normal, especially in terms of puberty. Everything is normal. Menstrual cycles are normal. The different sizes of a pad. Same thing for, again, talking about men. Why pad sizes are important, because I know that they'll be like, you want the one with the wings or without the wings? What difference does the wings make? They make a difference. Exactly.
Sliding around.
It makes a difference. So having those conversations so that they're not taboo, especially you see them with people who grow up with a lot of sisters surrounding that particular conversation. They're used to it. It shouldn't just be them kind of holding up this entire conversation of like, this is why people should be. No, everyone should have that kind of conversation. But unfortunately, if we're talking about in schools with Texas having the opt-in policy, it's not going to happen unless the parents are knowledgeable and active in trying to have those conversations, because they have to sign a permission slip to get their students to be in the program, not taking them out, but for them to just get it. Right. And oftentimes, whether your parent is busy or whether your parent is opposed to it, you're not going to get it unless they give it to you or unless you find it in other forms. And of course, that's not what we want, but it's often how it happens, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm a product of that. I'm 20 years old, and like sex education, stuff like that, menstrual cycles and whatnot, those are conversations that I still have not had with my mom. So it's like, being my age and knowing everything that I know, I'm super grateful to be in the spaces that I'm in, because I really don't know where I would be if I didn't like take the initiative to be like, how does this work? How does that work? Yeah. So it's also about that. Like, if you're a young girl and you don't really have any other outlets, you're more than welcome to reach out to us with questions, even if you think that they're stupid. Because I promise, I might have had the same question at one point, and if it wasn't for maybe having somebody that's like us to answer that question, like I said, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah.
I might have been cooked.
Yeah. So you two are fairly young. You guys are 20.
Fairly.
Super. You guys are 20 years old, if I'm correct. So how does it feel being this young with such an impactful mission?
It feels like being called ma'am all the time.
I hate that. Like, girl.
It feels like a ma'am situation. I'm like, I want you to know I'm also young. And they're like, no, it's not the same.
My baby can't even buy alcohol yet.
So they're like, you have so much responsibility. So it kind of is that definitely walking into rooms. If we don't mention how old we are, they don't know.
Right.
And I think we also try to use that to our advantage sometimes to make sure that like we're not being seen as like, oh, these are just some 20-year-olds just doing something. No, this is big.
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
a lot for us, regardless of whatever money people like to talk about us putting into it. We're putting so much time that we are rearranging everything to be like, okay, this person works this time. I gotta be able to squeeze this in somehow because we're that dedicated to this project. And it's definitely just a lot to tackle a full-time student, and then this, which is basically also sometimes feels like another full-time job. So we kind of just definitely take it with a lot of, what is the word I'm looking for?
Tact.
Yes. And I'm just like, it's always in the back of your mind that like what you're doing is big. What you're doing has a great impact on the people around you. And you need to kind of tread carefully, make sure you are being knowledgeable of what you're doing. Just how everything can affect everyone pretty much at the end of the day. At the end of the day, we're going to look back probably 2 years from now and be like, that was a bad idea. I don't think we should have did that, but it happens. And we fortunately now have a mentor, which we're so grateful for. But at the time, we literally just rolled out.
We didn't have a lot of guidance. So there was definitely a lot of frustrations on both ends because it's like, how do we navigate this? And how do we navigate this new relationship that we are now adding onto a friendship? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So who or what has been y'all's biggest support in all this? Because I know that being that you guys are young, going to college, like this is stressful. So who or what has been y'all's biggest support?
Apart from family, of course, I think the who would definitely be, for name dropping right now, Kelly Cleland with the American Society for Emergency Contraception. She is the first person who flew us out.
She flew us out.
Yeah, for a conference in our first year, mind you. Had us on a panel talking about on-the-ground work, and that was very, very fundamental to just how we drew from there. That's how we started doing educational seminars and like actually getting paid to talk to people, which was crazy. Kimia Factory, she is our mentor, and she's been super, super, super helpful. Just kind of narrowing down like, this is what it's like to be a Black, femme-presenting person, queer person in this space. And this is how I've experienced it because she's been doing this for a while and just kind of giving us advice. That's the main thing, is that she started young and she's been going through it. And it's just like, this is what I did. This is what you should do, because what I did maybe wasn't the best thing to do. And having someone who can kind of guide us definitely has been super supporting, just because I think otherwise it feels like we're going in blind.
Yeah.
And I much rather have her than us going in blind.
I also think it's really important to thank ourselves because like Limya has been saying, like we do a lot of work, and being Black people, Black women in this space, we're definitely a minority. We're a minority in San Antonio in general. Right. So doing what we do, being Black, being students, like that's a pat on the back, like, right. For real. Like there's a lot of people that couldn't do what we do. So I think it's really important to thank ourselves, recognize that we are our biggest supporters, and so it's okay to be cocky sometimes.
Amen. Honestly. So we're not just gonna roll past that. You said you were flown out.
Flew out.
Yes.
Where? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
So we went to the oh my gosh,
EC Jamboree,
yes,
in Washington, D.C.
Yes,
2023. Okay. That rhymed.
Yes, it did. We went in 2023, and it was because she kind of just, like I said, we did that one training, and I kind of reached out after, and I was like, hey, we went to your training. This is kind of what we're trying to do. Do you have any other resources? And we did a meeting with her, and she's just like, I'm just so amazed by y'all. Like, keep me in the loop. And we kept meeting with her every other month or so, and then she just was like, it was in August. She told us,
come to this?
A month before, hey, I have an idea. It might be a little risky. And we were like, risky how? What do you mean? And she's like, how would y'all like to be flown out to DC for, you know, this amount of time to speak on a panel about access on the ground with other organizations? So we spoke with like Everybody Texas and like really large organizations that are doing things in both Texas, what was it, Louisiana, Florida, the Midwest, like
Maryland.
So many different places where they were doing such huge things. And they had us there, and we just were like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And we also were able to be there for the Free the Pill Coalition celebration of the over-the-counter birth control bill. So it just was a really large kind of moment for us to kind of see the path that we can take with the org, and how, again, she was like our first supporter on a larger scale that was like, y'all need condoms? I'm sending you condoms. Y'all need this? I'm sending you this. Yeah. She's very amazing. We are in cahoots now, that I will not say further, but we are in cahoots more with her about other things for us moving forward.
Yeah. Okay. So with this journey, I think you guys mentioned when I previously talked to y'all, it's been about 1.5 years now. About a year. What has this journey taught y'all? About yourselves, about the community?
Patience. Also, to be a better communicator. Because I'm kind of a selfish person. I'm not afraid to admit that. And it's really easy for me to just like box myself off and like close, you know, and just not, you know. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to move the mic. So in doing this, it's just taught me how to be a better communicator when I have to keep somebody else in mind. 'Cause I don't know how to explain it, but just communicate better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think creating space definitely has been a big thing. A large conversation that we've just been having was about like how, if, you know, we're having the trouble of communication, but we're also like, what outside factors, like we're allowed to have outside factors affect us. Although, yes, it'd be great for us to always be around. We are not like other organizations where they have 15 other people that can be a backup.
And they're paid.
Yeah, we don't have backups. So when something goes wrong in our personal lives, you know, at first, at least for me, it was sometimes where I was like, I got to keep pushing though, because there's no one else who can do this for us. Like, it's just us. And at some point, it's like, we're allowed to take a break, which is why we took a month-long break, which is the best thing I think I've ever done in my life. Because just sometimes you need to step back. And I think being able to have the opportunity to step back also just was more eye-opening. The same way that our 1-year celebration was eye-opening to who, you know, is supporting us, who we actually have in our circle, which I think is better to see in one room where they were literally in a circle and be like, wow, like all these people support us. All these people are willing to be here for us and, you know, present us with other opportunities that maybe we wouldn't have seen if we didn't meet with them. So I think it's just a lot of mindfulness. And then again, just creating space for both ourselves and just realizing how large this project is and that sometimes you feel small when you're a part of like a really big thing. But realizing like we are the foundation. If we are not okay, this is not okay. So definitely just being like focusing on ourselves, I think is very big. And I think something I've learned over time.
Well, I just wanted to take the time to really thank y'all, not only for coming today, but for what you guys are doing. I feel like it's very important, especially because a friend of mine, she received the contraceptive kit, and she would not have known she was pregnant with her second son if she didn't use the kit. So I just wanted to take the time to thank y'all for what y'all are doing, not only today, but in the community. How can people find you, and what do you guys need?
You can find us on most platforms. We don't have Twitter, but TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, of course, at Black Book Sex Ed for all of those. And then we also have a website, blackbooksexed.org. If you're just generally interested in, you know, perusing our website, figuring out what our mission is, you know, just being able to look at it by yourself, you can definitely go there. If you're also wanting to volunteer with us, because we would love some volunteers, you can also fill out a form there, right? Yeah. And then also if you wanted to request a kit from us, you can also fill that out there.
Everything is on the website. Everything is on our Instagram and like a link tree, which is a lot easier for some people. And then in addition to the kit request, if you happen to just be around San Antonio, you might find our kits in one of the shops out here as well.
All right. Well, my name is Samara. This is Black Book Sex Ed, and we are out.